Unexplained Hauntings, 7 spine-chilling tales revealed under sinister rain. Sounds terrifying. New discoveries await. Sarah pressed her forehead against the cold, damp glass, staring into the relentless downpour that drummed ominously against her new home's old windows. Perkins Avenue was eerily quiet, the usual sounds of laughter and joy replaced by the constant whisper of raindrops, as if the world outside was muffled by despair. She took a deep breath and turned to her 2 kids, Emma and Jake, who sat on the dusty floor, playing with little interest in their new home. Dead leaves from the long-forgotten trees outside tapped against the window like skeletal fingers. The neighborhood, she noted, seemed friendly enough. Neighbors waved, offering half-hearted smiles that shimmered with an unsettling edge. But something felt off, like a thick fog hanging in the air, pressing in on her thoughts with every passing moment. Each day, as she tried to forge a sense of normalcy, echoes of the life she had before haunted her. With every creak of the old house, she felt her insecurities and fears bubble up until they clawed at her insides. One thunderous night, just as Sarah tucked Emma in, she heard a soft murmur filtering through the walls, pleading voices that echoed with desperation and longing. She shuddered, pulling the blankets tighter around her daughter. Was this her imagination, or was the house alive with the memories of those who came before? As the rain continued to pour, she discovered remnants of the house's past. In the basement, she stumbled across yellowed photographs and letters, each revealing a dark history. Families that vanished, echoes of laughter turned to dust. With every revelation, the chilling local legend wrapped around her like an iron grasp. They said that the very walls had soaked up the pain, that the house hungered for new lives to consume. An icy chill ran down her spine. In the days that followed, her uneasy sensations intensified. Shadows flickered just out of sight, and Emma and Jake grew more subdued, their usual energy gone, replaced by a strange fears they couldn't articulate. Sarah had to protect them, yet she felt like she was losing grip on reality. Each friendly wave from Mrs. Caldwell, the neighbor, now sent icy tendrils of dread swirling around her heart. The woman's eyes seemed to bore into Sarah, as if she knew secrets etched in the very fibers of the house. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the storm raging outside, the whispers turned to screams in the night, haunting her dreams with desperate cries for salvation. Each morning, dread coiled tighter around her heart. It was suffocating. As she peered out through sheets of rain, the streets remained too quiet, whispers of a malevolence lurking just beyond sight. And then came that fateful evening. The shadows pressed against the walls, converging in a way that felt almost alive, and Sarah got a text from an unknown number: "You can't leave. We know where you are." Panic shot through her like ice. The ground felt unsteady beneath her. She glanced at her children, their eyes wide with fear, and somewhere within her, a primal instinct kicked in. Would she find a way to escape the darkness encroaching upon them? As the shadows grew closer, she realized not all evils were trapped inside walls. Some lived in the hearts of the community itself. Would she uncover the secrets in time to save them all? The air felt thicker with dread as Sarah sat alone in the flickering light of the kitchen. Emma and Jake had finally fallen asleep, but the darkness had shifted shapes around her. It felt almost sentient. She clutched the trembling edges of the table, her heartbeat loud enough to drown out the rhythm of the relentless rain pounding against the roof. Just her and the shadows. She focused on the sheets of paper strewn across the table, those cursed letters from the basement. The stories they told replayed in her mind like a loop: families torn apart by unseen forces, children who vanished without a trace. A sudden thought struck her: were Emma and Jake in danger? Or was the danger already ensnared in the very fabric of their home? She felt her skin prickle, the feeling of being watched igniting a chilling fire within her. Eager to shake off the sensation, she decided to check on her children. The hallway stretched out like a dark abyss, each step toward their room hammering in her chest. What if the shadows weren't just specters of the past? What if they were right here, right now, slipping through the cracks of her mind? As she reached the door, a soft giggle floated into the hallway. Sarah's breath hitched. Emma and Jake should have been fast asleep, but instead she caught a glimpse of light spilling from their room. Trembling, she pushed open the door. The sight stopped her cold. The kids were sitting in the middle of the floor surrounded by makeshift piles of toys, but they were smiling, faces illuminated by a soft glow that seemed to emanate from a small, dusty lantern Jake had found tucked away in the attic. "Mommy! Look!" Emma's voice rang out, breaking the tense silence. "We made a fort." "Yeah, and it's magical," Jake added, eyes wide in excitement. Sarah forced a smile, her motherly instinct to indulge their joy pushing against the fear clawing at her mind. "Magical," she whispered, though her heart pounded in her chest. "We should get to bed now," but the air shifted again, and the laughter faded. An oppressive shadow loomed outside their window, twisting and curling like smoke. Sarah's heartbeat quickened, the light from the lantern glimmered weakly as she felt a chill creep through the window's frame. Suddenly, a thud echoed from the hallway. "Did you hear that?" Jake's voice trembled, drawing closer with an edge of fear. "Stay here," Sarah commanded, her voice sharper than she intended. She stepped cautiously into the hallway, dread pooling in her stomach. She could feel the shadow pressing in around her, causing the walls to close in, leaving her breathless. In the dim glow of the lantern, something moved quick and serpentine. She gulped down her fear, trying to remember the warmth of her kids' laughter. But it felt distant now, encased in layers of her mounting terror. "Mommy?" Emma's voice was fragile, tinged with worry. The shadows outside twisted abruptly, and a whisper slithered through the cracks, words she couldn't quite catch, but the essence gripped her heart in icy claws. "She won't leave, we can't let her go." As she glanced back to the kids, Sarah realized the air was sulphurous, thick like a fog. The lantern flickered, the lights dimmed until they almost vanished completely. Panic rose, and she reached out for her children, but as she turned, the room spun with shadows that twisted and writhed, and behind the veil of darkness, a pair of eyes glimmered with malice. The screams of the past filled her ears, erupting into a cacophony that drowned out her thoughts. Just when she thought she'd suffocate, a vision flashed in her mind, an old photograph from the basement. Was it a warning? Would it reveal the truth behind the shadows? "Get back!" she yelled, rushing towards the room as the shadows darted closer, seemingly alive, yearning or perhaps hunting. What awaited her next in this hellish darkness? The whispered warnings teased her mind, asking if she was willing to uncover more of the unspeakable truth, or would it consume her whole. Sarah's heart raced. The house, its walls, its inhabitants, they were alive, as hungry for her as she was to get away. What would she discover about the fate of the last family? Would the truth be worth learning, or would it plunge them deeper into the nightmare? The air felt heavier now. Sarah could hardly breathe, the shadows swirling menacingly, creeping closer as if eager to consume her spirit. She spun back into the room, her heart hammering as the lantern flickered ominously. Emma and Jake looked up, eyes wide, their innocent faces illuminated by the weak light, but a new edge of fear settled in their gaze. "Mommy?" Emma whispered, voice quivering. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, just stay close to me." Sarah forced a smile, though her voice trembled. She tried to keep her fear in check, but the darkness beyond felt alive, hungry. Let us go back to the fort." As she turned, the room felt wrong. The shadows were thick, coiling like smoke around her feet, merging and swirling, threatening to swallow her whole. They seemed to pulse, a darkness feeding off her fear, and she could hear whispering, barely audible yet cutting. "Stay with us, Mommy," Jake cried, clutching Emma's arm. A knot twisted in Sarah's stomach. "No. She brushed aside the creeping dread, snatching the lantern, its warm glow barely piercing through the dense obscurity. "Stay right here." But as she stepped toward the door, a figure emerged from the shadows, a silhouette so twisted and contorted it looked like a parody of a human. It shuffled toward her, dragging limbs as it moved. "Help us," it rasped, voice hollow like an echo through a well. Sarah stumbled back, heart racing wildly. "Stay back!" she screamed, the lantern flickering violently as if feeling the vibrations of her fear. In a heartbeat, the laughter of her children was drowned out by shrieks from the dark. The figure lunged. A flash of pain stabbed through her senses, an icy grip tightening around her throat. She swung the lantern, the warm light striking the dark figure, who hissed, recoiling as if burned. "Run!" Sarah shrieked, shoving Emma and Jake toward the door. Fear shot through her as they hesitated, eyes glued to the horror before them. "Now!" The children darted for the hallway, Sarah close behind, but as her foot hit the corridor, she felt the shadows coiling about her ankles, pulling her back. She swatted at them, fingers clawing frantically as they wrapped tighter, muffling any sound escaping her lips. "Mommy!" Emma's cry ignited something primal in Sarah. She forced her limbs to move, breaking free from the haunted grasp with sheer willpower. They sprinted through the hall, dodging fleeting shadows that flickered like malevolent spirits. "Into the basement!" Jake urged, his voice breaking as terror colored his words. "We'll be safe there." "Not the basement!" Sarah gasped, panic spiking like an electric charge. The letters, the photographs, warnings of what lurked below. The last family had descended into darkness and never returned. The thought froze her in place. "No!" she shouted, but the children were already bolting toward the basement door. She could see the door creak open, the ominous darkness below beckoning as whispers swirled more fervently. "They want us." Sarah realized, the truth clawing back her breath. "We can't go in there." But the children were already gone, shadows swallowing them as they slipped into the abyss. Heart racing, she lunged for the door, ready to pull them back, but the darkness surged, breathless and unrelenting. "Stay away! Let them go!" she cried, swinging the lantern wildly, yet the malevolent presence only drew closer. The shadows writhed, twisted around her, and she felt despair setting in like cold steel. What would be left of her if she lost them? Warmth faded as dread enveloped her once more. She took a deep breath, the air reeked of rot, and she could feel the cries of the forgotten swirling around her. In that moment, a thought ignited a vision of the photograph, the last family's fate flashing before her eyes. "I have to see it. I must know." But as she lunged toward the kitchen door, she could hear the soft giggles of her children fading into the dark, replaced by sinister whispers encouraging her to follow. What would she find in the depths that awaited her? The truth buried under layers of terror, or the final, cruel reminder of the cost of knowledge? The kitchen door creaked ominously as Sarah pushed it open, the sound echoing through the stale air. Reality felt warped, as if time twisted every moment. There was a heavy chill, almost tangible, seeping into her bones, amplifying the fear already clawing at her throat. "Emma! Jake!" she called, her voice quivering, disappearing into the suffocating darkness. She could feel the weight of it pressing down, crushing her resolve, but she couldn't let go. Not now. Not ever. The kitchen, once a familiar space, morphed into a labyrinth of memories gone wrong. The dim light from the lantern danced across the walls, revealing more shadows than shapes. Her heart raced, hands trembling as she took a tentative step forward, gripping the lantern tighter, searching for her children. The whispers grew louder, echoing through her mind like a dark symphony. "Stay with us forever." A chill stung her skin as she stumbled backward, instincts screaming for her to flee. "Stop it!" she yelled, startling herself with the sharpness of her tone. "This isn't real." The rage bubbled in her chest, fighting against the encroaching despair. But as she called their names, hope flickered like the lantern flame, the shadows creeping closer as if drawn to her desperation. She crept toward the basement door, heart hammering. It stood ajar, the pitch black beneath seeming alive, breathing, eager. "Mommy!" Emma's sweet voice echoed from the depths, tainted with a strange, otherworldly distortion. It made Sarah's stomach knot. "Emma! Jake!" She shouted again, desperation morphing into determination. She had to reach them, her blood now a boiling tide of fierce love mixed with primal fear. She peered into the basement, seeking any signs of movement, heart pounding like a drum. The air smelled like damp earth and decay, old horrors stirring to life beneath the house. The hair on her neck stood on end as the whispers transformed to a hushed chorus, rhythmic and inviting. Join us no. I want tea." She screamed, the sound raw and wild. She stumbled back a step but, again, her heart pulled her forward. What if the kids were down there, lost without her? With every ounce of willpower, she moved towards the stairs, each creak under her foot sending flares of panic shooting through her. Breathing shallow, she peered over the edge into the black abyss, where her children stood, but they were different, their outlines blurred by shadows, eyes glistening with a knowing that sent terror coiling in her stomach. "Mommy, it's okay," they said in unison, their voices dripping honey and grime. "We're having fun, come play with us." Sarah's heart dropped. Those were not her children. Something twisted and malicious lurked within their forms, and she could see it now, the darkness flowing around them, taunting her, promising eternal company if she was foolish enough to step into that void. "No!" she yelled, shaking her head, feet rooting to the floor. "I need to find you." Suddenly, the lantern flickered violently, a surge of energy pulsed through the air, and the children's faces twisted into grotesque masks of laughter. The light dimmed perilously, shadows elongating like fingers reaching out, dragging her closer to the edge of the staircase. Cold dread clawed at her throat as she realized she was losing control of her thoughts, her purpose, her children, everything. She was being pulled under, deeper into the spiraling horror. "Mommy, please," they begged, and Sarah felt like she was shattering, heart racing faster than her thoughts. She had to make a choice: dive into the darkness and risk losing everyone, or turn her back on what she could never forget. A crack echoed in the silence. The basement door swung inward, creaking open wide like a mouth ready to consume her. In that fleeting moment, a voice from the shadows called to her, sinister and smooth. "Come down, it's better down here." What awaited her in that stale void? A reunion with her children, or the shattering truth of what the darkness craved? Sarah could barely hear her thoughts over the pounding of her heart. The basement beckoned her, the shadows swirling as if alive, whispering promises of what lay beyond the surface of fear. Yet, some primal instinct shouted at her to run, to escape this sinking pit of dread. She felt the wooden boards of the stairs splintering beneath her weight, tension tightening in her chest, the stench of moisture and something rotten invading her senses. With each breath, the voices grew louder, reverberating within the cracked walls. "Join us forever." The phrase rolled like a storm in her mind, pulling her deeper into despair. "Emma! Jake!" she cried, her voice breaking, reaching toward the silhouettes that twisted and contorted at the bottom of the stairs. Their figure reminded her of her kids, but they were not her children anymore. They were marionettes of the coming dark, laughter ringing like death knells. The basement door creaked wider, the darkness spilling out like an ink-black liquid. "Come play," another voice joined, thin and tainted, malevolent and mocking. "Stop. Just stop." She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting them off, but the landscape around her morphed painfully. A flicker in her mind's eye revealed Emma's laugh, flashbacks of a time when light and joy lived in her home. Then it warped, laughter replaced by shrieks, the joy becoming despair. "Mommy, don't leave us." The distorted echo sliced through the darkness, tugging sharp at her heartstrings. She could see them more clearly now, their faces crumbling like old paper, eyes black as midnight, gazing with endless hunger. "Mommy, it's so much fun here with us." There was a spasm of anger inside her, rising like a tide against the crushing force of fear. You're not my children. Sarah screamed, each word propelled by the sheer force of her terror and love. I will not listen to you. A chilling wind swept through the hallway as if the house itself recoiled. For a moment, silence draped over her, a heavy blanket. But then a sinister laughter echoed, bouncing off the walls like a taunt, lingering in the marrow of her bones. No, we are family, come home. Desperation clawed at her throat. How could she escape when her heart was tethered to their cries? She felt the cold eyes on her, the darkness reaching out like icy fingers, waiting to grab hold. But she had a decision to make: stand firm or plunge into the depths where horrors awaited. With the last remnants of her courage, she took a step back. I want to let you take me. Instinct driving her, she turned to run, but the shadows lunged forward, the darkness slicing through her resolve. Suddenly, the kitchen lights flickered back on, bright and blinding, illuminating the grotesque scene before her. The laughter ceased, replaced by eerie silence as the figures twisted back into her children. Mommy, they said, innocent yet so wrong. You came back. As she stumbled back against the wall, Sarah realized something was shifting. The basement seemed to pulse with life. I can't lose you. I want tea. She screamed, tears streaming down her face. A rumble surged through the floor, the very house groaning, as if it craved her surrender. Above the howl of wind outside, a voice erupted from the blackness, cold and sinister. You think you can leave? But there's no escape from family. The ground trembled, shuddering under her feet as whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar. Everything started to crack, the walls groaning, and Sarah felt herself being drawn back, almost as though the floor wanted to swallow her whole. Desperation clawed at her mind. Could she save them? Before she could decide, the floor splintered. Sarah fell, tumbling into the yawning darkness as the last traces of her children's faces melted into shadows. As she plummeted, a new whisper echoed in the darkness, chilling her to the bone. Welcome home, Sarah. What horrors awaited her in this unfathomable darkness, and would she ever see her children again? Falling. The sensation wrapped around her like a suffocating shroud. Darkness swallowed her whole, the world above rapidly fading like breath on glass. Sarah forgot the sound of her heartbeat, replaced by the clamor of voices swirling around her. The pit of dread that had become her home felt endless, and just as she thought it might consume her entirely, her descent halted with a sickening jolt. She hit the ground hard, the impact rattling her bones. Breathing heavily, she opened her eyes. The smell of damp earth clung to the air, mingling with the faint scent of decay. Grit and filth coated her skin. A low, chilling hum reverberated through the oppressive stillness like an ancient beast stirring from a long slumber. Mommy? The voice, sweet and sickly, came into focus from the shadows. Her heart lurched. It was Emma. Emma. Sarah bolted to her feet, adrenaline surging. She scanned the darkness, desperate to find her little girl. But Emma stood a few steps away, backlit by a flickering, sickly green light. The glow danced around her, casting grotesque shadows on the cave-like walls. Emma's fragile frame looked ethereal, shimmering in the dimness, but terror lay hidden beneath her sweet smile. Why did you leave us? Emma's grin widened, revealing an uncanny sharpness to her teeth. Behind her, Jake materialized, just as twisted, eyes gleaming with that same false innocence. We just wanted to play. These shades seemed wrong, too vivid and raw, their laughter sounding off-key. No, you're not my children. Each word tasted bitter on her tongue. But we are, Jake chimed, his voice oozing with malice. We're all you have now. You can't run away. The walls themselves seemed to pulse, breathing like a living entity, constricting the space around her. Their voices melded into a cacophony, rising and falling, mocking her. Sarah felt a surge of helplessness and rage. I want to let you win. She shouted, eyes wide in desperation. You're just shadows. I can fight you. Shadows? No, Mommy, we are family. Emma's tone turned solemn, each syllable laced with chilling clarity. "And family is forever." The ground beneath her quaked, crack spiderwebbing outward as if the very earth sought to consume her. She stumbled backward, panic flipping her stomach. Suddenly, the light intensified, revealing the cruel, hollow expressions on her children's faces. They seemed to float towards her, their movements ethereal, trapping her within a cyclone of despair. "Come play with us, Mommy," they chanted, their voices harmonizing in twisted unison. She looked around frantically. A massive door materialized, looming behind them, decorated with blood-red symbols flickering with that same sickly glow. It exuded an unsettling pull, promising escape, yet teeming with unknown horrors. With her breath coming in sharp gasps, Sarah weighed her choices. The darkness pressed in, thick and oppressive. Did she dare to confront the door, or stay and face the manifestations of her darkest fears? The weight of their imploring eyes anchored her in place, she swayed like a leaf caught in a gale. "Mommy! Mommy!" echoed the haunting refrain, the shadows dancing just out of reach. What choice would she make as the ground yawned open around her? Just then, the door swung ominously ajar with a gut-churning creak, revealing a blinding light inside. She could hear whispers of something more, something darker. Was it a true escape, or a deeper descent into madness? "Choose the darkness," hissed, the shadows closing in around her. With a surge of bravery, Sarah lunged toward the door. But the ground beneath split wide, spilling forth a flood of whispers, shrieks, and long-forgotten nightmares that pulled her back into the abyss. As she fell into the light, a chilling voice echoed behind her, "You belong to us now." What awaited her on the other side of that door? Would she find refuge or become a prisoner of her own despair? Sarah's body tumbled through the blinding light, engulfed in a whirlwind of sound and sensation. It felt like time fractured, moments stretching into eternity before snapping back into focus. She landed on her knees, gasping for air. Breath came in sharp, ragged pulls, and her heart pounded furiously in her chest like a caged animal. The scene changed instantly. She was no longer in the cave. Instead, she found herself in a dilapidated room, wallpaper peeling away like old memories, revealing damp, rotting wood underneath. The faint smell of mildew clawed at her senses. Her breath fogged the air, mingling with an eerie silence that weighed down on her shoulders. "Sarah!" A soft, echoing whisper cut through the stillness. It wrapped around her like a noose, tugging painfully at her resolve. "Emma," she called out, but her voice sounded distant, like a haunting melody lost in a storm. She scrambled to stand, only to find her feet slipping on the debris scattered across the floor. "Help us!" came a frantic cry from somewhere just out of sight. The voices were layered, a chorus of pleas knitting together seamlessly, tugging at the corners of her sanity. Panic surged anew, and she stumbled towards a door at the far end of the room, the promise of escape flickering like the dying hum of a streetlight outside. With every step, a sense of dread saturated the air. Shadows loomed in the corners, moving in grotesque, indecipherable forms, yet when she turned to look, they shrank back, hiding their faces from her gaze. "Mommy," another voice purred, laced with a strange familiarity. Sarah's heart sank. She knew that tone well. It was the voice of her son, Jake. "Jake?" "No, Mommy. It's just us," echoed the voices again. The door creaked open slightly, revealing darkness so thick it felt alive, pulsing, waiting for her. She hesitated, fear coiling in her stomach. Her children, or their specters at least, were somewhere in that void. "Don't leave us, we're waiting for you," Emma cooed, the tone deceptively sweet, almost sickeningly so. "No." She shook her head violently, fighting the web of fear trying to ensnare her mind. "You're not real." Their laughter rang out, sharp and brittle, a cacophony that echoed off the walls. It slithered into her mind, planting seeds of doubt. What if they were real? What if they were trapped, just as she was? The ground beneath her shook again, revealing more hidden fissures that yawned wide like grotesque mouths, ready to swallow her whole. Each tremor sent a wave of nausea through her, the sensation dragging her back toward the shadows. "Get away from me!" she screamed, flinging herself away from the door, desperate to escape that enchanting trap. But no matter where she turned, something sinister pressed in on her from all sides. She felt eyes on her, malevolent and hungry. A pain jolted through her as ghostly fingers seemed to brush lightly across her back, icy and electric, but when she spun around, nothing was there. "Choose," the whisper returned, more insistent now, a growl just beneath the surface. She felt her sanity teetering, the torment of her lost children wrapping around her like fog, choking her with guilt. If they were not truly gone, what if their cries were a signal, a lifeline to save them? That thought twisted painfully in her gut, a dread that threatened to consume her. And then, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted another flicker of light in the dark. This one was smaller, flickering uncertainly but beckoning her, promising hope. "Keep running," it whispered, the light growing warmer, more inviting. But as she desperately made her way toward it, the chorus of her children rose higher, their wails piercing through the walls of her mind. "What are you willing to sacrifice for love?" they pleaded, voices layered in a chilling harmony. The room trembled, shadows sharpened into claws reaching for her. She was losing her grip, the thrum of fear mounting. Desperation surged as she thundered toward the flickering light, heart racing. Was it salvation or a snare? As she lunged forward, the walls shuddered violently, threatening to collapse around her like a dam bursting, spilling darkness and despair into every corner of her mind. In that moment, she felt it, a hand grasping her wrist, cold and clammy, pulling her back. "Mommy, don't leave us." But one final thought pressed in: could she save them without losing herself entirely? The grip tightened on her wrist, and Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She twisted around, facing a figure half-shrouded in shadow. The face was familiar but distorted, features flickering in and out like a faulty projection. The cold sensation seeped into her skin, freezing her muscles with paralyzing fear. "Let go of me!" she screamed, but the words barely escaped her lips, barely resonating against the heavy silence. "Mommy, please," came the haunting refrain again, indistinguishable from the whispers that clawed at her mind. Jake's voice echoed through her, mingled with the little giggles of Emma, wrapped in the shadow that held her fast. Each laugh felt like a knife, sharp and unrelenting, drawing her deeper into despair. She kicked and fought against the unseen force, the darkness throbbing around her. The more she struggled, the tighter its grip became, as if the shadows were raking their claws against her spirit. Her heart pounded like thunder, each beat drowned out by the shrouded cries of her children. "Help us, Mommy! We can be together again." The cold fingers released her, and Sarah stumbled backward, breaking free from their grasp but landing hard on the floor, the dust rising like smoke around her. She was alone again, but that loneliness poured into her, filling the empty spaces with dread. Rising slowly, Sarah cast her eyes around the room. The oppressive silence hung heavier now, punctuated only by the distant echoes of her children's laughter. What was haunting her? This place or something darker lurking in her mind? The flickering light was still there, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. It seemed to be calling her, whispering promises of safety. She stepped toward it cautiously, a chill running down her spine. As she approached, a loud crack echoed through the room, rattling the walls, and the shadows shifted, swirling into monstrous shapes. "Don't go to the light, Mommy!" the distorted voices wailed. "It lies." Sarah froze, doubt creeping back into her chest. Her gaze flicked between the light and the shadows, each side pulling at her like a terrifying game of tug-of-war. "Mommy, we're here." A figure stumbled out from the dark, flickering as it moved, and hope surged in her chest. It was Jake. "Jake?" A fragile whisper escaped her lips. The light dimmed as she stepped back, confusion clouding her thoughts. "Don't believe them, Sarah," came another voice, sharp and steady. It was Emma now, emerging from the square of darkness. "You have to find the truth." The two children reached out, Jacobean fingers beckoning her closer. "Mommy, please, believe us." They chorused, their tones sweetly sinister. "Can't you see? You're trapped." They pointed to the shadows, their faces aging painfully under the strange light. "What truth?" she managed to ask, her voice trembling. The air thickened with dread, the shadows whispering dark secrets into her ears. "What are you trying to tell me?" "In the light," Jake said, his voice breaking, "is where you will find it." A deep growl erupted from the dark, shaking the floor beneath her. The shadows shifted violently, forming into a mass of twisted limbs and snarling faces. "Choose, Sarah." The ghastly whispers surged around her, intertwining with the children's cries. "Decide now, love or survival." Her breath quickened as the shadows closed in, their rustling wrapped in the scent of decay, while the flickering light faded. Time is running out. Each second trembled like fragile glass, and she felt the anguish of the two lost souls pulling her apart. "Will you let them go?" As she stood at the precipice of a choice so dire, a final, thunderous crack echoed, the room trembling. In that moment, shadows lunged toward her, and she was left screaming into the engulfing darkness. What awaited her in the next heartbeat? What truth would she uncover as she stood there, caught between love and the consuming void? The darkness recoiled in a wave, releasing its grip, but it felt like a temporary reprieve rather than a true escape. Sarah gasped for breath, filling her lungs with the stale air, each inhale heavy with terror. "Mommy!" The voices echoed again, sharper this time, resonating not just in her ears but deep in her broken heart. A flicker of movement drew her attention to the window. Outside, rain fell in torrents, the rhythmic patter soon replaced by an ominous drumming against the panes, a sound that clamored for her attention. The reflections on the wet glass morphed images swirling like a storm of memories threatening to crash down upon her. She touched the cool surface, her fingers trembling. The pit in her stomach hollowed out even further. Voices seemed to rise from the deluge outside, mingling with the cries of her children. "Help us! Please!" They were cries of desperation echoing through the walls, punctuated by the thunder rumbling above. "Get away from the window!" A voice croaked from somewhere beyond the gloom, pulling her back to the reality of the room. It was her children, but an actual presence. A figure stood just outside the shadows, its features illuminated momentarily by lightning. It was a face she recognized, the face of a neighbor, fear etched deep, pleading for her attention, though he seemed impossibly far away. "Get out!" he shouted, then dissolved back into the dark. Was he trying to help her or warning her? Panic clawed at her thoughts, spiraling her into a torrent of fear. She stumbled away from the glass, drawn again to the hollow cries of her children. Then she froze, feeling a shift in the air around her. A soft hum began, vibrating the floor, an eerie melody that filled the room with a sense of urgency. It was the kind of lullaby that had soothed them to sleep. "Jake, Emma," she murmured, desperate for clarity. The shadows around her quivered with palpable rage, and the air thickened as if woven with the weight of long-buried secrets. "You hear them? You feel them?" They growled, voices echoing in a dissonant chorus, layering over each other, twisting into violent crescendos. "Stop it! Just stop!" she yelled, the helplessness drawing close like a tightening vice. "What do you want from me?" "Truth!" they screeched, the noise a cacophony that echoed off the walls. The floorboards creaked underfoot, and she staggered back, listening to the mournful cries that enveloped her once more. Her eyes darted back to the children, no more flickers of light to guide her, only shadowed figures. She could feel her heartbeat pounding in her ears, drowning out everything, leaving her stranded in a sea of uncertainty. "I need to know," she yelled, desperation lacing her voice, longing to break the grip of agony around her heart. The shadows shrieked in response, a sound that sliced through her very being, and suddenly the room pulsed with an inky luminescence, a wall of dark light looming before her. It swirled and undulated, drawing her in like a black hole, promises of revelation painting twisted visions across her mind. "Choose to step into the truth. They cried, pulling her toward the whirlpool of terror. As she faced the fearsome void, clarity emerged amidst the chaos. A desperate choice lay ahead, one no mother should ever have to make. With a desperate breath, she took a tentative step forward, the shadows reaching out as if licking their lips, eager for the prize. But then, a deafening crack reverberated through the air, shattering the moment. Time seemed to freeze, oppressive silence swallowing her whole, leaving her breathless as she glimpsed a familiar, anguished face peering through the dark, a face that looked like her own. "Sarah!" It screamed, echoing through the chaos. "Don't trust them. They'll take everything." What had she just stepped into? What terrible truth lay on the other side? As the shadows tightened their grip, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her. Would she find her children, or would she lose herself in the darkness forever? Sarah stood at the precipice of despair, the swirling shadows beckoning her closer. Her hands trembled, but inside, a fierce resolve ignited. "I will not let you take my children," she shouted, the words trembling but powerful, piercing through the suffocating darkness. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, pulling back as if stung. The cacophony of voices quieted to a soft whisper, and a singular truth emerged: the love for your children is stronger. She took a deep breath, steadied her resolve, and stepped fully into the darkness. Instead of engulfing her, the shadows shrank back, filling her with an electric energy that surged like wildfire through her veins. Memories flooded her: tears, laughter, birthday parties, and the soft embrace of both Emma and Jake. Light broke through the heavy darkness, illuminating the twisted faces of the shadows as they writhed and shrieked, unable to bear the brightness that emanated from her. "I see you," Sarah declared, her voice firm. "You're not my children any longer. You're echoes of fear and pain, but you do not control me." With every step she took forward, the shadows dissipated, fading into cries of indignation and frustration. "No. You belong to us," they screeched in agony, and for the first time, doubt began to crack within their ranks. "Not anymore," Sarah roared, summoning all her strength, pushing back the void that had gripped her heart for too long. She called out, "Emma! Jake! I'm here!" The air shimmered, and the shadows splintered as two familiar forms took shape. Emma and Jake emerged, trembling but whole, their faces glinting with warmth. "Mommy!" they cried, arms reaching for her, innocence radiating through the haze of darkness. Sarah rushed to them, pulling them in close, feeling the warmth and life she had fought to reclaim. Their laughter echoed, shattering the oppressive silence that once encased them. "You have to believe in us too," Emma cried, and Jake nodded, determination in his small stature. Thick tendrils of shadows crept towards them, but Sarah stood protectively in front, shielding them from the encroaching darkness. "Stay back," she yelled. "You will not touch my family." Bright light poured from her heart, radiating outward, pushing back against the shadows. "Our love binds us." She held her children tight, feeling their warmth against her skin, grounding her. The shadows shrieked in a frenzy, but their forms swirled into wispy tendrils as they struggled against the light. Symbols carved into the air, radiant and beautiful, illuminated the room, an ancient binding spell, formed by the love of a mother. The darkness writhed, held together only by fear, and the truth of her unwavering bond shattered its foundation. With one final push, Sarah shouted, "You are finished. I choose love, and you are not welcome here any longer." The shadows exploded in a swirl of black vapor, and as they disintegrated into nothingness, the room brightened, revealing the world outside, a world touched by the storm but filled with flickering light. "Mommy, you did it!" Jake exclaimed, eyes shining with pride. As the air cleared, it seemed to shimmer with possibility. Sarah dropped to her knees, enveloped by her children's comforting presence, tears of joy spilling down her cheeks. "We are safe now, truly safe," she whispered, her heart swelling as the weight of despair lifted. Together, they stood, hand in hand, a family forged in love and resilience. The storm outside began to wane, lightning replaced by the gentle patter of raindrops, a cleansing ritual, washing away fear and reminders of their harrowing journey. In the days that followed, they took time to heal, to cherish their small moments together. On rainy nights, they would sit beneath the warm glow of a lantern in the renovated fort Jake and Emma had built, telling stories and weaving laughter through the air. With every flicker of light, Sarah felt the weight of the past recede, giving way to a future filled with hope. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. For Sarah, the horrors of their home lingered like distant echoes, but they would always remain just that, echoes, as her love shone bright against the shadows of the past. And as they finally settled into their new lives, Sarah remembered a promise she had made to herself, to never stop fighting for her children, for their joy, and for the love that bound them. The last memory of that night faded into a whisper as the soft rain tapped against the window, the house now a testament to their triumph, forged in love and resilience, forever standing against the darkness. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will send chills down your spine. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the tales coming. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Let us hear what you thought. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.